everybody, but 155 kids went. So they sell wreaths and they do a fudge fundraiser. So I'm planning on maybe mimicking some of that, again, not within the school because it's not being allowed, but on our own. And I just want people to know what the organization is and that we do exist. And hopefully you'll hear more about us next year for the current 5th graders. The name of it is Monomoy Equitable Learning Foundation, or Monomoy ELF. And we're here. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee? All right, moving on to student representatives. I understand we have a few tonight, so come on.
Hi, my name is Kira McAllister, and I'm a senior student at Harwich Elementary. I've enjoyed my senior year, and I'm excited for middle school. This year, as one of our 5 Filled Fishbowl celebrations, we did an activity called Back to the Past. In this activity, we went back to our teachers from the previous year and got to see how many new things we learned. I hope they do this activity again next year. I also remember the day I got elected for student council. It had been a dream since 1st grade, and I was so excited to help the school. This year at Harwich Elementary has been the best one yet.
Hi, my name is Maggie Powers. I am a 4th grade student representative from Mrs. Crowley's class. I enjoyed my senior year of elementary school, and I think we had a great school year at HES. First of all, I think the students in the 3rd and 4th grade math league enjoyed their pizza party. That is something you should continue doing in the future. I also like participating in the energy fair. I think new generations of 4th graders will see it as a great opportunity. The school-wide Zumba dance was fun, but I am concerned that many kids who were embarrassed to dance did not participate. I also thought that when we had career day, it was basically like professional ER day for the 4th grade. I think that the 4th grade has been waiting for Spirit Week, so we should either do it just for the 4th grade or for the whole school and not the 4th grade. I also enjoyed our field trips to the Art Museum and the National Seashore. And I think that the 4th grade concert was a great opportunity for students. I also like the idea of the school-wide bingo and Mr. O'Shea coming to the elementary school to teach kids what it would be like to go to middle school. I hope Harwich Elementary will continue to thrive the way it does now.
Hi, my name is Gregory Dino Viprino, and I'm the student representative for Miss Keith's class. The first thing I want to talk about is Spirit Week, where you dress up. On Monday was Hawaiian Day, Tuesday was Sports Day, today was Formal Day, tomorrow Professional ER Day, where you dress up as the job you want that ends in ER. Friday is Color Day, also Field Day for the 3rd and 4th graders. The last thing I want to talk about is Step Up Day. I loved all the teachers and can't wait to go to the middle school.
Technical difficulties. Hi, my name is Drew Ryan, and I am a student council representative at Monomoy Regional Middle School. Student council has put a slideshow together about 24 instructional hours at our middle school. On June 6th, 7th graders and their cognitive activity for Beyond the Great Sea, a new novel by local author Lauren Wolk. The all-day field trip began in Falmouth, where students met with Audubon naturalists for a narrated tour along the Elizabeth Islands. Students then joined the Cuddy Hunk school teachers and her 2 students, brother and sister, for a walking tour on the island. A Q&A session about the island and the tales of Penake's Island when it was a leper colony included in this trip. This field trip follows our in-depth reading of local author Lauren Wolk's new novel, Beyond the Bright Sea. Not only have the students been immersed in the story, but they've also learned a great amount about the Elizabeth Islands through reading and presenters including Ian Ives from Long Pasture Audubon and Lauren Wolk herself. This field trip has been made possible by generous donations from Art of Charity, the Harwich Cultural Council, the Friends of Performing Arts, and the Chatham Friends of Trees. On June 7th, Grade 5 celebrated the Earth and Human Activity Project with parents and donors. Students studied and presented about the important work people in our local community are doing to reduce human impact on Earth resources and the environment.
Hello, my name is Talia Timbolio Perez, and I'm also a student council representative at Monomoy Regional Middle School. Also, on June 7th, 6th grade students accepted their mission as they became prosecuting attorneys for the Monomoy District Court, where they tried the case of Samuel W. Westing's murderer. They prepared a closing argument, 1 to 2 minutes, explaining why your prime suspect could be guilty of the murder of Samuel Westing, and presented it to their peers. A combined band and chorus had their concert at Monomoy Regional High School on the very same day. Following the concert, 5th grade chorus completed their Take a Step ceremony, where they celebrated their individual growth and music by stepping into the microphone and taking stage. On June 8th, the Scholastic Book Fair opened and will stay that way until June 21st. All proceeds from the book fair fund summer reading books for all students at the middle school. Members from the public are welcome after school hours. The 5th grade also explored our local waters on a marine life cruise.
In other news, our school raised $1,700 to fund research for leukemia and lymphoma in April, organized a Super Shark Summit for our leadership groups in May, and hosted a 6th grade geography fair in May as well. We would go on and on, but mostly we would like to say thank you to all the students, parents, guardians, community members, donors, administrators, and teachers for making Monomoy Regional Middle School such a special place.
Good afternoon, my name is Jacob. We are representatives of Student Council from Chatham Elementary School. We are here to talk to you about what we have accomplished in the year 2017 to 2018. We've done quite a lot of things, including small tasks like Earth Day tips, Love Yourself Well, and Seasickle Spirit Week. Also some bigger tasks, for example, the Look for the Good project and the Assembly, coloring books for the children's hospitals, and pennies for peas. These are some of the many accomplishments that we have had. Other CES happenings this year have been the Coat Drive, 4th grade state fair, 3rd grade living museum, concerts, talent show, and field trips to the National Seashore and Audubon Society.
Hello, my name is Thomas Chase, and I'm also a representative of Student Council. And this week, Chatham and Harwich Elementary School went to Step Up Day at the Monomoy Middle School, and we enjoyed it a lot. Things we do in student council meetings include planning our events, making agendas, and supporting everyone's ideas. Some jobs we do include recorder, discussion leader, and note taker. We do these meetings to help our school run smoothly and to help prevent any negative activity or actions. Thank you for your time and cooperation. We hope you enjoyed this presentation.
Hi, my name is Caroline Davik, and I'm a junior at Monomoy, and I'm the new school committee representative for the high school. This past month has been very busy at Monomoy Regional High School, with festivities for the graduating senior class and many end-of-year activities for the rest of the school. The celebrations for the seniors began on Thursday, May 31st at Convocation Night, where the seniors were awarded their scholarships. Over $336,000 in scholarships were awarded that night. Thank you to the many organizations in our communities who provided our seniors with these generous scholarships. On the sunny but breezy afternoon of June 3rd, the class of 2018 walked into the big white tent on the front lawn to celebrate their graduation. The 111 seniors were the first class to complete all 4 years of high school at Monomoy, as they were the first freshmen to enter the building in 2014. The graduates awarded reflection awards to the teachers and staff members that impacted them throughout their career at Chatham, Harwich, and Monomoy. The 5 Advocate Awards, which go to people who spread school spirit, embody school culture, give to others, and work hard, were awarded to Grace Boyle, Thomas Graham, Rich Houston, Katie Kelly, and the first parent recipient, Julie Santoni. The seniors also presented their class gifts, 3 benches painted blue and covered with the students' handprints and signatures during the ceremony. On Friday, May 25th, State Representatives Sarah Peake and Tim Whalen visited the students during Jossam Hour, where they discussed topics that were of importance to students who would be new voters in the upcoming years. On Saturday, June 9th, the STEMinist Club moderated a panel at the Orpheum Theater in Chatham to celebrate World Oceans Day. The STEMinist Club aims to get female students involved in science, technology, engineering, and math activities. The panel was put on by the Ocean Protection Agency for Kids, which is a local organization. Several sports teams were also very busy in the past month, with teams competing in state tournaments. Both boys and girls lacrosse teams made playoffs, as well as boys baseball and tennis. Softball made playoffs and went all the way to the quarterfinals before losing to Case on Sunday. The girls golf team played in the South Sectional Tournament on June 5th and placed 4th. Sophomore Stephen Young and senior Tara Berry competed at the state track and field meet, with Stephen placing 6th in the 800 meters and Tara placing 16th in the 400-meter hurdles. Seniors Emma Thatcher of the softball team and Matt Veery of the baseball team were named the May Scholar Athletes of the Month. The Spring Sports Awards took place last night, where athletes were recognized for several achievements, including academic achievement throughout the spring season, varsity letters, the Triple Crown Award, which goes to student athletes who letter in 3 sports, as well as League All-Stars and MVPs. This morning we had our annual Breakfast of Excellence, during which students who achieved high honors throughout the year were recognized, as well as students who had perfect attendance this year. There are several events coming up in the next few weeks to close off the school year. On Friday, the juniors will be recognized with awards for the Outstanding Junior in each academic department, and junior book awards from colleges and universities. Finally, on Thursday of next week, the newest members of the National Honor Society will be inducted.
I would just like to add, this morning I had the privilege of attending the awards ceremony at the high school, and there must have been over 100 students that received honor roll, perfect attendance, and various awards. And to hear all the accomplishments at all the other schools, well done. Thank you. All right. Okay, the next thing is on the agenda is the trip to China. Sorry. Hold that. Just the test. Recognitions.
Oh, this will be fast. But I first want to say that this time of year is kind of a special one. There's so many different things that go on. I had the opportunity to go to the on the field trip to Cutty Hunk, and that was amazing. And before Thomas and Jacoby actually completely bolt from here, I had the opportunity to go over today to the state fair over at Chatham Elementary School, and I've seen that state fair for a number of years since my own daughter was doing the state fair there, and I was really impressed this year with how I just tight the presentations were, from just how they were sort of team efforts with those projects all along. And I've been trying to get Thomas to just fill in for me for the rest of today. Thomas, you want to come up and you're welcome to go read off our donations, and I'll just go home. But really, it was the best fourth grade presentation. So if you can take back to your classmates and to your teachers that I was really impressed with how wonderful you guys did. I loved those little cartoons and the little things that you could go with your iPhone and sort of get to. Was neat. Your little quizzes that were all electronic, little STEM things embedded in there. And I thought one of the neatest things is, as a parent, mentioned to me that they came and were impressed because none of it happened at home. It was all happened in the classroom. And I thought that, that was just a testament to, to what the students were doing, but just how it involved all their different teachers and the specials. So great job. In terms of other recognitions, I have 4 donations I'd like to acknowledge. First, the Rotary Club of Yarmouth, which has donated $250 to help fund the field trip costs for the visiting Spanish exchange students. We also received another $250 donation from the Rotary Club of Harwich and Dennis for the same exchange student trip. We have a donation of $360 from the Art of Charity to Chatham Elementary School for materials for science activities, and a donation of $372 from the Monomoy Regional High School Friends of the Arts to help fund field trip transportation costs. So thank you to those groups. Now China.
Okay, next thing is the information about the trip to China.
Ni hao. Hi, everybody. And my name is Melinda Jones. I teach Mandarin at high school, and there are my students.
I'm Peter Casey.
I'm Celia Koda. I'm Mariah Bedoy.
And I'm Robbie Seeger.
We are here to have introduce a China trip and over April vacation of 2019. We hope that you will approve our trip. We will show you a preview of the trip via our slideshow. And for our trip, we are going to China, 2 cities, which is Beijing and Chengdu.
So the first place we're going to is, well, that's my class right there. And, and that's how excited we are. Yeah, the first place we're going is Beijing and the Forbidden City. It's really important because it, yeah. It was named a World Heritage Site in 1987.
Okay, in Beijing, we're going to go to the Peking roast duck dinner. This is very historic in China. It's been around since basically forever. And everybody in my class is so excited. They're all so excited to eat the Chinese food. They're so curious to what it's like over there compared to over here, and we're very excited.
All right, on day 2, we'll go to Tiananmen Square in Beijing, which is the largest city square in the world, and it has great cultural significance. And day 2, we're going to the Forbidden City and Jing Shan Park. And there have been 24 emperors that lived in the Forbidden City from 1402 to 1911. And there were it was a ceremonial and political center of the Chinese government for almost 500 years. And it was listed by UNESCO as the largest collection of preserved ancient wooden structures in the world. So that will be a good spot to
my
go.
kids will explore about the culture of the construction. This is Forbidden City, and it's very beautiful. It's totally have almost 10,000 rooms in this palace. My kids will go inside.
On day 3, we're going to the Huanghuacheng section of the Great Wall, which is part of the Great Wall that isn't really visited by tourists as much. We're going to have the opportunity to walk along the side of the wall and help clean up garbage as kind of a service project. And we're going to be able to kind of walk through the forest around it and see part of the wall that isn't really looked at by the outside eye.
And this is a part of the Great Wall. My kids will promote the needs to protect our planet. And also, that picture under there, it's how long the Great Wall in China map. The red one along the north side.
All right. So another thing we're going to do is we're going to go visit an orphanage there. At the orphanage, we will hang out with the kids. We'll teach them about our culture, but not only that, they will be teaching us about their culture. So we'll be exchanging cultures in a way. We'll be having fun, making friends, and reading stories, and just exchanging dances and food and everything between our cultures.
Also on day 4, we're going to be going to a middle school in China, traditional middle school, and we're going to observe their classes, and they're going to teach us a little bit of Chinese and do kind of what we are going to do at the orphanage, but on more of a base educational level. And we are going to help them, teach them a little bit, and we're going to play basketball with the students, just as kind of a bonding experience and to connect with the students.
And China and America, with my kids, currently they are doing the project compare about the culture of the school systems. For this opportunity, it's a very good opportunity for my kids to go there, sit in the classroom to learn how the students study in China.
And on day 4, we're going to go to the Summer Palace, and that's me at the Summer Palace. I went on the trip last year. It was pretty fun, and then we're going to go back again next year. And we're going to go to the Summer Palace again, which is the largest imperial summer retreat, I think, in China, or maybe the world.
Okay. So we're going to take the bullet train from Beijing to Chengdu, and it is a very fast train. It goes 180 miles per hour, which is crazy. We don't have anything like that in the United States. It's going to be great to be on. We're going to get there in only 7 hours, going 1,267 miles, which is crazy. Not only that, we are going to be seeing a lot of scenery and checking out the country itself. And that's where Beijing is, and that's where Chengdu is.
Here's more of Chengdu, and this has to do with culture. Chengdu is a historical city, and students will experience old city lifestyle and culture. Most of what's here is like shops and restaurants, and that's really what students are supposed to be exposed to all day.
In this city, we are going to Quanzai Line, which is a very traditional place. They have all the China traditional culture over there. My kids will go inside all the stories, museums to explore the culture. And like this, snacks, drama, and even the left one is a snack. Use the brown sugar to make some art, and the kids will love it. And this is about instrument, the room, the building, and the Kung Fu tea. The kids will go to see how the Kung Fu tea works. So we're very curious about what is that in the classroom. And also, oops.
Oh, I think it might have died. Yeah. Okay, well, the next one was art.
So, so in Chengdu have most of the art, Chinese traditional art over there, and very famous in China. The kids will go to the street and explore the culture. They can buy some gift for friends over there, which is, that place is pretty good. The kids can spend money as the local people. Don't like before we go to a trip, they bring us to go to get the like jewelry or pearl or something. This time we totally let the kids buy the traditional culture thing and a very good price with the local people and bring here to your friends, parents, and
Okay, so this is what I'm really excited about. So we're gonna go and we're gonna meet up with some pandas. We're gonna volunteer with these pandas. We're gonna hang out with them. We're gonna hug them. It's gonna be great. Basically, we'll be like being zookeepers for the day. Not only this, we're gonna collect data. We're gonna do some science with their feces and other things. It's still gonna be a great time, and I'm very excited for this part of it. Oh, okay. So we're gonna have a lot of hands-on activities with the trainers. They're gonna teach us a lot about the pandas and how to take care of them, and we'll learn how to protect them just in case we don't want them going in danger, and we want them to have a safe environment. We'll prepare food for them, we'll feed them, we'll clean them, and we'll walk and play with them, and do some science as well.
so all on the picture that will be our student will do over there. And such as prepare food, clean the bamboo, and make the panda cake for the pandas and feed them. Of course, they will walk with them, depends that day's weather. If not raining, they will walk the panda in the yard.
On day 7, we will be going to Lisan, which is pretty close to Chengdu, and it has the giant Buddha, which is a stone carving in the side of a mountain, and it's actually the largest carving of Buddha in China. It stands at around 70 meters tall. You can see the boats and the river in front of it. And we'll be taking a river cruise right around there. And it's an ancient sculpture, and it's been there for many, many hundreds of years, and it's a very ingrained part of the local culture.
And the 8th, which is we are going to take a plane to fly back to Beijing and go home. From Beijing, go home. And here's
So we have figured out through the travel agency which we've been in contact with, which is China Educational Tours, that the tour itself would cost around $1,200 per student. This includes the hotels, transportation, meals. Most of the meals, lunches sometimes are not included, and activity fees. The airfare is not included in that price, and the price fluctuates between $800 and $1,500 depending on how soon you book the tickets. So the total cost would be around $2,000 to $2,700, which is right in the ballpark of other trips that have been done in the past. In fact, a little lower than some of them. And to reduce the cost per person, we've been looking into fundraisers such as GoFundMe, which I know has been very successful for other schools. There's one that I believe I saw in Minnesota that raised $20,000 for a similar trip. The other fundraisers that we'd be doing are like, bake sales, movie nights, things like that in high volume. And the last part of our little plan would be to apply for whatever grants and donations we can, as this is not just a educational trip. It's also partly a service trip. We're going to be learning about the conservation, about endangered species, and we're going to be helping to clean up the environment and do things like that. And obviously go to the orphanage, teach people, and so yeah.
Any questions?
Ms. Long?
Thank you. What was the date of this trip?
And during the spring break, 2019, next year, yeah.
Any other questions? Oh.
I'll just start talking. Did you have interest other than the four of you, or is there?
Yes. Yeah.
Lots of interest?
Yeah, lots of before, last month I already have 35 kids said they want to.
Oh, that's a lot.
35, but maybe not too much.
Wow, that's great.
But the kids wants to go, and because that's a very nice trip, it's like a volunteer, like a global citizenship, yeah, they love it.
The follow-up, is that going to tie into the global studies? That be one of the trips that is allowed for the global studies? Mr.
Yes.
Yes. I was looking for a nod somewhere. And then I had a third question. Apparently wasn't that important.
I'll do another one. What would the student to chaperone ratio be for this trip?
Each 10 students will have one.
And then security in the hotel rooms,
Yeah.
things like that, similar to the Washington trip and
Yes.
through part of the program?
Yes, last year I brought my kids to China once during spring break. Yeah.
Ms. Stout?
I have a couple of questions. One is, how many children are taking Mandarin?
So far I have amount 65 kids taking
65.
Chinese.
Wow. And for the trip, will it be the kids that are taking Mandarin, or would it be anyone in the school?
Anyone they want to go, yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to make a motion about this trip to approve it or not approve it?
I'll move to approve the trip to Beijing and the other sea city in China in April of 2019.
Second?
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yeah.
I'm wondering if that, this isn't just about this trip, but I only thought about it now. After the trip is over, I'm not sure it's appropriate during the trip, but when it's over, will this tie in at all with history or things like, I notice you're going to Tiananmen Square, and there are some very important political things that happened there. I'm not sure that would be addressed on the trip, but will the kids get to hear some different things at some point?
No, because when we with the tour guides to go, I am there and I will talk, like last time I talked to them, no politics, anything to my kids.
No, not on the trip, but
Yeah.
when they're off the trip, is there any historical information they might get about that might supplement what their trip was?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the trip to China. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
Cheers.
I think they should come back and talk about the panda.
Well, parts of
Oh, yes, that's great.
Okay, the next thing we need to look at is the school committee meeting schedule for 2018 and 2019. looks right now like there's one meeting in July, one in August, and then, those are Thursday nights, right? Thursdays. One thing I'm gonna suggest, but we can leave the start time at 6:30, but I'd also be open to hearing if anyone would like to start at 6, if that's.
I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind moving them to 6, and are we leaving them on Thursdays, or is there open discussion about moving it to a different day?
Yeah, these are Thursdays, right? Yeah, Thursdays, for the second time. Thursdays, okay, any other yes?
For me, it would be difficult. We used to have it at 7, we moved it to 6:30. It just cuts down my work time. So.
Okay, so.
6:30 is good.
Okay.
That would be quick.
Okay, so any other comments, questions about the 6:30 start time, Thursdays in the coming year? Okay.
Except for the February 14th at 6 o'clock. Is that in the effort to get us out early for a date, or?
Yeah, we do the hearing first.
Okay.
Before our regular meeting.
All right, then.
I move to approve the school committee's 2018-2019 meeting schedule.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm not opposed, but we have been having in the summertime, 1 month there'd be 1 meeting, and the other month there'd be 2 meetings. I'm just concerned that our meeting times are becoming less and less, and I'm not sure if we can get everything done we need to get done.
I understand the reason for that is we always had to approve handbooks for each of the schools prior to the start of and most of them, with the exception, I think, of the high school, has been approved. So that if we can have that presented during that meeting and vote on it that night, if they send it out early to us, so we can,
What about the strategic plan? That usually, we usually have a workshop in the summer, and to set our goals and things, and we were going to have a meeting, I think, on the strategic plan. So.
I have that in the superintendent's report.
Oh.
So does that affect
I think we
adding a
could.
meeting?
I think we could probably always add a meeting if we needed to. And then I also think this doesn't include any subcommittee meetings as well, which are going to be going on, I'm sure, through the summer. So it's not that we're going to be out of contact. And if, in fact, when Scott does his presentation, we speak about the strategic plan, we can always add something in. I always look at it as an outline.
Okay, so that would make August 23rd then, an added date? That's is that
That's
2 weeks
fine.
from the 9th?
That would be great.
So we're, what about the motion?
Withdraw the second, withdraw the motion, back
Is
up.
that the person that did it, or?
I brought one, but it must have fallen
Yeah.
here to this.
I'm not withdrawing my motion.
So are we adding a meeting?
I think we have to withdraw the motion first, and then we're going to add a meeting, but,
Is that necessary?
yes.
If it helps, and we front load part of my superintendent's report so we can align calendars fully. I have the week of July 16th, the administrative team will be cloistered in a room discussing, sort of long range planning and kind of looking or debating what might be those key levers that we want to think about for sort of the next iteration of the strategic plan. What I've discussed with the chair and vice chair is that it might be prudent to have either Monday, Tuesday, afternoon, evening of that week, so this would be the 16th or the 17th, to have the administrative team meet with the school committee to discuss your wants to see us look into and embed in this initial brainstorming session. So, so I'd like to propose that either that Monday or Tuesday, and I know it's not a Thursday, but the earlier we can meet in the week, the more I can go and make sure that your voice is part of that thinking.
Makes good sense. Ms. Long?
Would that prevent adding the August 23rd meeting? As far as front loading, and then perhaps having things more prepared for the August 9th meeting?
Ms. Scott?
I'm just thinking that maybe if everybody just kind of holds that date and it's not necessarily on the calendar, hold the second Thursday in August as a possibility meeting date. Just because it's not on the calendar doesn't mean we can't add in a meeting. So if you kind of hold it and then also hold what Mr. Carpenter was just talking about in terms of those meeting dates, that way we're not adding to the calendar, we're not changing the calendar, but it's just there as a placeholder in your brain. I don't know what other people do, but I know that on my calendars, I do school committee meetings Thursdays, 6:30, and then I do second Tuesday of every month, repeat forever. Second Thursday of every month, repeat forever, or fourth Thursday of every month, repeat forever. And
you need a life.
Too much of a life. So I think maybe if you just leave it as a placeholder, that might.
Can we plan on the 17th, Tuesday the 17th at 5 as a placeholder for, so that there's like a specific date?
Well, that's not on my calendar. July or August?
July.
So should I amend my motion?
No, your
Okay.
motion is the calendar that's set, so unless you want to add that date. Sorry. Old habits really die.
Feel free, please.
Nothing clears a room like a discussion of a calendar.
Can I amend my motion then?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to move to approve the school committee 2018-2019 meeting schedule, including an additional meeting for strategic plan on July 17th at 5 o'clock.
And then who made the second?
I did the second.
You need a second. You just need to make sure you second. She did.
Is she?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was bogged down in 5 o'clock.
I know, I hear you. Okay, so the motion has been amended to add July 17th in as a meeting and a hold for the 23rd. We're going to just, no, okay, forget that. I'm going to quit when I was ahead. All right. The motion is to just add July 17th.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's been seconded.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We're doing this
Oh,
against,
the motion carries.
we're doing this against the Music at the Culture Center, you know. I'm
what did
putting
you
in something like, there's music going on at the Culture Center that night.
Isn't it weekly?
I don't know, I just have it that one day.
Okay. Can we move on? All right, Chatham Elementary Community Eligibility Provision.
Best presentation of the night. You guys are better than
I'm
us.
Food Service Director for the Monomoy Regional School District. This spring, when I was completing compliance work for the state for reporting, one of the pieces was to input information regarding our schools and our free reduced population that we have. And I was notified by the state that one of our schools, Chatham Elementary School, qualifies for this program based on the number of free and reduced kids we have in that one specific school. It's just for Chatham Elementary because none of the other schools qualify yet. What is CEP, or Community Eligibility Provision? It's a program that's an offshoot from the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010, which provides school systems in schools that have high poverty levels with a chance to feed the entire school breakfast and lunch without any cost to the students. How do you qualify for this program? You have to have the correct percentage, which is 40% for your schools. Chatham's was at, and all this information is taken from April information of this year. Chatham was at 46.2%. And what it does is basically the state reimburses you for the number of meals that you serve, all the meals that you serve. Right now, we get reimbursements in 3 different levels. We get reimbursements for kids who pay lunch, we get reimbursements for kids who are reduced breakfast and lunch, and kids that are free. With this program, you get a percentage of the free reimbursement for a percentage of the school. And I'll explain that. It's really not that complicated. Because we have 46.2%, okay, you have to multiply that by 1.6. So what that means is that 73.9% of all the meals that we serve and claim for reimbursement will be reimbursed at the high free level, while 26.1% of the meals that we serve will be reimbursed at the paid level. So we're still getting money, it's just less money than what we would get. I mean, the ideal is to have 62.5% because that comes out to 100%, which we don't quite have yet. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's a nice program to have, but you don't want to push it too far, too fast. Sorry. The biggest concern, I guess, for going into this is the financial concern is, will the reimbursement cover our expenses for the program itself? Because that's all you would get. There's no more lunch money at all. There's no more transactions. There's no more money being placed on the students' accounts. That all disappears. And there's really no a la carte at Chatham Elementary because there's just no time and they're too little for that. So I think that it's a great idea. I think that it will be financially beneficial to the district and to the school because what happens with this program, obviously, is the participation itself increases because everybody can have a meal. Everybody can have a breakfast. Everybody can have a lunch. There's no stigma involved at all. Everything is just you come in, you eat, that's it. We still have to record the data the same way as we did before, but the kids don't know any difference. It's just like they're going in and having a meal. No more dealing with the little bags of change. No more dealing with student debt, which is another thing. That takes that whole weight off of the parents. Also, we don't have to collect paper applications for that school, just for that school, though. And this is one of the things that you have to think about in terms of having just one school in a school district that is participating in this program, because you're going to have multiple kids from a household that are still going to need to apply for free and reduced lunch. Even though that one student that goes to Chatham Elementary School won't have to. And it's a weird, convoluted thing. In one sense, I mean, it would be easier if the entire district went to this whole thing all at once, because then you eliminate all of it together. But I mean, it's not undoable, because most school systems, they'll pilot a program in one school, typically an elementary school first before, and it's also dictated by the population that you have in your school too. But again, I don't see that as being a problem. If parents are made aware of the program and what their duty is in terms of reapplying at the beginning of the year for the whole household, I don't see it being an issue. I mean, I just see there's so many just different advantages to this program. And it's nice because it's a Chatham Elementary, which has a smaller population. It'll be easier to track and control. And then once the next school comes online, so to speak, which would most likely be Harwich Elementary, which is only about 2.5 percentage points away from qualifying for this program, which I could probably guarantee the following year. When I do this again next April, chances are that Harwich Elementary will qualify, and that will be a big, because there's a lot more students in that school. So any questions? And I also think it'd be nice, I wanted to talk to you about it because it'd be nice if it got the, stamp of approval, especially for parents too, when they see that, the school committee knows about it and going forward with it.
Any questions? Ms. Stout?
So I didn't do the math of the numbers that you gave us, but will the money coming in to buy the food be more, the same, or less than what we would be getting now for Chatham Elementary?
It should be more.
Okay.
It's impossible to tell, just because you're basing it on how many kids are eating on a daily basis. But if you look at it historically, it should be equal or more, because the other thing, remember, is that you're going to be increasing actual participation in breakfast and lunch at that school, just by virtue of having this program there.
Well, it will also probably give a little bit more time on learning, because the teachers won't have to do lunch counts if they still do that.
Yeah, which they do at Chatham
yeah.
Elementary, yep.
But,
No, they'll still have to do lunch counts, because they'll still have to know how many things
oh,
they
we're
make.
doing it,
They
okay,
just
yeah,
want the
I guess
pot
you're
of money.
right. They
No.
just won't have to do A or B or something. But the quality of the food, the nutrition that kids are getting, will that remain the same, improve, or decrease?
Same.
Same,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, then I don't see any downsides of this. Sounds good.
Ms. Long?
A follow-up on Ms. Stout is it the same food we're receiving now, it's just monetarily we're getting funding for it? Or is it a completely different service?
No, it's just the way that we're receiving the funds from the government. See, right now,
Okay.
we get reimbursement from the government.
Yep.
But it comes in 3 different forms. Plus, we get revenue from parents.
So the menus and all that's gonna stay the same?
Everything's the same, it's just the paperwork side of
The
it.
paperwork side of it,
Yeah.
okay. And then my other question is, and you might not have this information, but we're at 46.2%, we have to be at least 40%. Do you know where we were the prior years? Like, are we looking like, I would think we're not going to decrease at this stage.
No.
I don't think we'd fall out of this program. But as far as looking at Harwich being at 2.5% away, you think within the next year, we might be able to get them on the same program? And
Yes.
then, as far as the middle school is concerned and the high school, do you know where they fall?
The middle school will be much harder, and the high school is very, very difficult.
Because,
The population of the high school, like currently, the free and reduced percentage that we have at the high school is only about 25%, which I know
Wow.
intuitively doesn't really make a lot
No.
of sense.
because you've got the same
A
students you're
lot of
cycling
that
through.
has to do with people not filling out applications,
Reporting.
which they're much better at doing at the elementary school. They're better at filling them out and returning them,
Okay.
you know? I mean, and that's typical for really any school system. The high school is always the school that has the lowest percentage of free and reduced kids.
Do you think Harwich would qualify if we could get more paperwork back?
Absolutely. Oh,
I
you
mean,
mean the
it's-
high school?
Excuse me, the elementary school that I said.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's not just, actually, this program's not even based on the paperwork that we receive.
Okay.
It's based on the kids that are directly certified through the state,
Oh, great. Well,
and
then-
also kids that we have on our list in terms of homeless, migrant, runaways, foster kids, things like that. That's the percentage that they look at to make the determination. They don't even count the kids that are approved via application themselves.
Thank you. Oh, no.
So I read something about this in the paper, but except a couple of things I'm not following, or it's not making sense to me. One thing in the paper, it said that Chatham Elementary School is located in an area that has more low income than some other areas of Chatham. Is that relevant to do with this at all?
No.
Okay.
No, because it has to do with the school itself. And see, like, if you were going to start a summer feeding program, an open site summer feeding program, you can have it in either a school that has over a 50% free and reduced lunch population, or resides in a low-income census tract.
Yes, that might be that. And so the other thing, I know you just went through this about about the middle school and the high school, but I'm not following if it's paperwork getting returned, that I can understand, although that there can be solutions to that. But are our middle school and high school kids coming from more well-to-do families than our elementary school kids?
I have no idea.
It doesn't seem to make sense. I don't know.
Percentage-wise, the number of kids that we have that are certified through the state are higher in the elementary schools. Now, that's information that's coming directly from the state, and those are families that have applied for state assistance in one form or another. And that's the majority of the students that we have that are approved. We don't get very many applications to begin with. Out of all the free and reduced kids that we have, which I actually have it around with me.
Is there,
It does actually make some sense if you're talking about families who have applied for assistance, because they would be more likely to be parents with, like single parents with young children at home or something.
The other thing too is that using the virtual gateway system that we use now, we can get real-time results. In other words, we can run this report every single month. And it updates if somebody's, because what happens is, we get this report initially in August, and then you're only really technically supposed to run it 3 times a year.
Yeah.
But then you'll miss anybody who applied, like say at the beginning of September, that might have been approved. But if you do it again at the beginning of September, you're going to get those names, and it helps. Good?
Robin Millen, principal at Chatham Elementary School. Just a couple of things. So we just ran this report for another grant subsidy that we were doing. So it is in real time. And this provision I talked about when we did the handbook 2 weeks ago, when we presented, 4 weeks maybe, presented it. Our numbers right now, this provision is pulled right off that census data. It's not an application. So we were at 49.1 last week. So it fluctuates all through the year. And you can understand that as per our population, what our population does for work and what they do when they claim unemployment and things like that, when they're furloughed and things like that. As far as typically, and I don't know what the data in the high school looks like as far as who what families are and who they are that are qualifying for the call that comes right off the state. But typically, high school parents are older. They've been in their professions or their careers longer. They do tend to make a little bit more money. They're less restricted sometimes in what they can do for work because childcare is easier. So the income brackets tend to rise up in the high school. So that explains the lower amounts.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
One of the things that's very important, and one of the things that's not necessarily unique to this school system, is that you would think intuitively that, well, this student that's at the high school has a sibling at one of the elementary schools. A lot of times they won't show up on that list. The sibling will not show up. So we have to find a way of diving into this thing and figuring out how we can tell where they're physically living, which is a challenge sometimes, because you can't necessarily go by name, and it's almost as if you have to look up individual addresses to see if the addresses match. Because if the addresses match, then that's a qualification, and then we can add that number to the total. And it's tedious, really tedious work, but I mean, it is possible to do. I mean, that's one of the things that kind of gets in the way. Because if everybody was living in the same household under the same name, it would sort of be easier. But it's sort of piecemeal. A lot of times we have to sort of search it out, find it.
Thank you.
Was this just for informational purposes for
Yeah.
us, or did you need a motion?
I don't, I was just giving.
Okay, it doesn't need.
Oh, we're in the process of applying for this.
Okay,
With the deadline is June 29th.
okay,
We still have 2 more weeks. And it's just basically uploading class rosters, things like that. It's basically proving what I submitted in April,
okay.
getting back.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. District auditing services.
Katie Isernio, Business Manager. Just as a follow-up, thank you, Garth. As an action item at the next school committee meeting will be a vote to approve this. I think that it just shows a good message. There'll be a form that the superintendent has to sign on behalf of the district that says that it's an agreement. I think that was added in your packet. It's the community eligibility provision agreement that the superintendent was signing, that the district will be doing, getting enrolled in this program. So that will be an action item for June 27th. And tonight, what I'm providing to you is just some information that will also be an action item for the next school committee meeting. So down below there, I think there was an action item number 3. We can cross that off the list. We have a contract with our auditing company that was through the 2017 audit, which has been completed, that you'll be receiving shortly. Under Mass General Law, auditing services are exempt from having to go out to bid for procurement, but it's a good idea to go out and get some prices and quotes from different auditing firms. So I've sent out a request for quotes to 3 different auditing firms. So the deadline for them to return is on June 22nd. So we'll be analyzing the prices as well as the services that will be delivered, and be making a recommendation to award another 3-year contract to an auditing company at our next meeting. So it is similar to the attorney, but not quite to the extent. The auditor is somebody that the school committee hires, not the business manager. So just wanted to give you a heads up, because there will be an action item at the next school committee meeting on this.
I need advance notice.
Okay, yep.
And
I'll have the pricing information at that time.
Right, I think that means we probably want to have the finance subcommittee get together and sort of vet them the same way we had a smaller group get together to sort of vet district legal counsel.
After June 22nd, because that's when the pricing information is due. Any questions?
Okay. Okay, superintendent's evaluation. I am going to make the comments that Terry, who's not here, wrote in his summary, and I will also read Stephen Duvall's comments, because obviously he's golfing or something. And
everybody can say hi to Steve, he can watch it.
And my own, and then I would ask to go around the table and share your thoughts about the evaluation. So, with that said, Stephen Duvall writes, Scott continues to build and maintain a strong administrative team. By working with them, he has continued to grow the, quote, numbers for MRSD in both test scores and retaining families in our district. Scott has also maintained a strong working relationship with the administrators of both Chatham and Harwich. This is key to the growth of progress. Okay. Yeah, oh, thank you. And he rated the overall performance as proficient. Okay. And Terry's comments were, in summary, Dr. Carpenter continues to devote significant time, energy, and creative problem solving in his ongoing effort to create a high-quality learning environment system-wide. Scott's instructional leadership goals are noteworthy in that they will build a road, quote, build a road to learning excellence. Establishing high expectations regarding content and quality of effort in each classroom will ultimately pay learning dividends. Scott's emphasis throughout the district to integrate data-informed decision-making has been consistent and transparent at all grade levels. Scott's willingness to face district-wide challenges, whether budget-driven or curriculum deficits, has been strong, resulted in solid system progress. Pardon? Oh, thank you. Can't remember everything. And also a rating of proficient. And I'll read mine as well. Progress is strong in instructional leadership. The superintendent has modeled going into classrooms for learning walks to address and assess concerns revealed in the DESI report. Many positive changes beginning in management and operations at all schools as all schools develop and focus on carrying out the school improvement plans. The superintendent meets regularly with parents to hear concerns, and with elementary challenges faced because of population changes, Dr. Carpenter clearly and creatively articulated several options to deal with this. Dr. Carpenter has worked with all administrators to model best practices in the classroom, as well as follow the strategic plan and school improvement plans, and also a rating of proficient from me. Nancy, you're up.
My overall rating
Scott.
for Dr. Carpenter was proficient as well. And my comments were that Dr. Carpenter has made it a priority to work with the administrative team to review and work on the challenges found by the DESE. This past year was a great start to looking at where we are as a district and definitive ways we can improve. Each administrator looked very closely at the strengths and weaknesses of each of their buildings and created an action plan with Dr. Carpenter's help and guidance. He continues to work with the towns each year with the budgets, and I feel this has a huge impact on our relationships with them. I appreciate Dr. Carpenter's willingness to meet regularly with parents. I said twice a year, but I meant 2 sets of times each year. So multiple meetings over a course of a year to receive feedback, discuss issues, and ask questions. And while they're not necessarily well attended, that's not his fault. It's just the parents need to show up. This goes a long way with communication, having that option there. For the next year, I would like to see continued work on these challenges at each building, feedback on how the plans have gone, and then possible updated action plans with each administrator. Thank you.
Okay. Stout?
This was a much easier evaluation to do because it was, a lot of the areas were narrowed down, and I'll mention that as we go. So as far as professional practice, meeting his doctorate, that was met. Student learning goals, significant progress. District improvement goals, significant progress. In the area of superintendent's, in the area of instructional leadership, there were 2 out of the 5 areas that we were focusing on this time. Instruction and data-informed decision-making. And in data-informed decision-making, I felt under Dr. Carpenter's leadership, we've made great strides. I'm very pleased with our school's progress in gathering and using data, such as the MAP data. The teaching and learning, we did, Dr. Carpenter led correction of some suggestions that DESC has done, and I'm recommending further professional development in a more formalized or traditional way, to continue that. On the area of management and operations, the 1 out of the 5 areas that we're rating this year is environment. And I wrote that these routines and in all these areas have made good progress. At the area of social emotional learning especially has made outstanding progress, especially in the area of teachers taking courses in suicide prevention and trauma. There was modest improvement on school lunches, and we're beginning more work on safety and school violence. And the last area, next to last area, is community involvement. That was the only area that I put down as needs improvement. I always feel like we need to improve in that area. I do agree that there are a lot of opportunities for parents that are provided. Dr. Carpenter met with numerous night meetings to meet with families, but they're not well attended. I think that we as a school system or leaders need to do a better job of thinking about ways to have parents and community members involved in ways that they want to participate, and I'm looking forward to the strategic plan fulfilling some of that. And the last area, professional culture, the 1 out of the 6 areas that we were rating this year is continuous learning. The area of culture is a very strong area in our schools, and we have had a lot of attention being put on the high school because of the principal's award for our principal, but also a number of the different initiatives they have there. I do think that in the other schools they have very strong cultures also. So all in all, everything was averaged out to be proficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Joey, get a pass this year. Stay tuned.
And
Joe.
so my
Ms. Jing.
rating for Dr. Carpenter, I almost called you Scott, but it's Dr. Carpenter.
Scott Marks.
Scott
Prefer.
Marks. It's proficient with the following comments. Monomoy Regional Schools, under the leadership of Dr. Carpenter and through a variety of initiatives introduced by him, are addressing the whole student and his or her basic human needs. To begin, the Harwich-Chatham Police Departments have a partnership with MRSD. Their goal is to provide students with a safe learning environment, and to that end are working with the program Run, Hide, Fight. Because students may not always feel at ease in their schools for various reasons, Monomoy has developed a district-wide social emotional learning program with many components to address students' needs. Academically, MRSC has put in place several best practices to measure students' progress over time. Through a combination of professional learning communities, instructional rounds, and data gathering, curriculum and lessons are developed through research-based efforts and aligned with Common Core. Data collection includes standardized testing, MCAS, MAP, narratives, and most importantly, students' classroom work. Looking at student work in PLCs allows teachers the ability to create, through differentiation, lessons addressing the particular need of learning style or talent of a child. PLCs give teachers the time to share their new learning through courses, readings, or students' work. From Dr. Carpenter to his leadership team to the staff in each school, it appears that students do experience safety, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. This is a dynamic district because Dr. Carpenter's vision.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Craffey?
My overall was proficient, and what I focused on was the family engagement. I think that you do an unbelievable job. I would like to find one more minute that you were available to give more, because I don't think it's there. The meetings, the countless reaching out to everybody. If they're not reaching back, that's really their own fault at this point. So I commend you on doing that, and overall, great job. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Long?
Doctor? 2017, 2018 has been a data-packed school year, I'd like to say. Coming off the DESE review, the goals set aim to specifically target those areas of weakness and continue to support the areas that we continue to grow strength. MAP test scores gathered and analyzed by the district prove that goals set were being achieved. Instructional leadership will continue to be key to our success as a district. Although unfortunate, the events in Florida and other areas of our country, this led our community and our superintendent to review and further solidify our district's safety procedures. Through fostered relationships that he has established in our community with our resource officers and local police chiefs, we were able to make everyone feel that our plan was effective and thorough. These things I find very important. Family and community engagement, although the numbers were few, the effort was put forth above and beyond to engage our community families and was a step in another positive direction where we must continue to travel and to grow, and we will. Engaging and educating our community can only strengthen our district as a whole, and congratulations, Dr. Carpenter, on your completion for this year, and I had marked you as proficient.
I'm just going to read a summary of all those. I tried to put into words what I was getting from the comment. Overall, the school committee feels we have a very strong superintendent in Dr. Carpenter. In assessing progress towards goals such as professional practice, student learning, and district improvement goals, Dr. Carpenter consistently scored significant progress or met. In the area of the 4 standards, instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture, Dr. Carpenter received a rating of proficient in all areas. The overall summative evaluation report is also proficient. And in between all of this meeting goals, Scott received his doctorate in education. Based on this evaluation, the Monomoy School District is fortunate to have an educator with Dr. Carpenter's knowledge, insight, and effort.
So I thank you for your feedback. If I do a brief little reflection, when I was a high schooler, my father at the time was a bank president who occasionally merged himself into becoming a lobbyist now and then. So I know my dad spent a lot of time flying back and forth from where we lived in southern Indiana, and he was in Washington, D.C. a lot. And I remember at the time him coming home and talking about the junior senator from Indiana, Dan Quayle. And he used to talk to me about the importance of surrounding yourself with really great people. And he thought that was Dan's secret sauce that, that really had him shine, and clearly had him shine enough that he ultimately became vice president of the country. And I know when I was looking at Monomoy and coming here, that secret sauce was Katie Isernio and Carla Blanchard for me. Were 2 fabulous people to come and work with, and it's been really great over the last years to work with them, to see Melissa added to the team, and I think she has just brought a wealth of great social emotional learning here to the district. And I look forward to spending a week this summer with Melissa in a professional development on social emotional learning, so it's going to be great. I look forward to having Mark Smith come join our team, and I'm very sad to see Carla leave. But we've seen, I think, over the years, that group of really strong people. So I think we've, where the district's going is in part who we've got, leading each of those, each of the buildings. I think we're in a really good place, and the most important, person in that secret sauce recipe is Barbara, and I cannot say enough about what her role is in making me look good.
It's easy.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to vote on this.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Can you turn the air down?
We'll vote on this next week.
All right. I've just been informed, we will vote on this next week. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the proposed school committee plaque. And it seems a person was looking into having the school committee have a plaque for self-recognition. And anyway, there was as research was done into the cost of such a plaque, it seems that it could be, oh, thank you. I didn't get that. Oh, okay, so it's in the packet. Thank you. There's the prices, and so it could cost as much from $600 to over $1,000. So I would like to go around the table and ask people's opinions of having this plaque for school committee members. Okay, I'm going to start with Jackie this time, and I'll go right up. I mean, Miss Long, sorry. Do you have an opinion about this? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I don't, I do have, and I guess I have an opinion, I just feel like it's a little odd if it's something that we're choosing to put ourselves on a plaque. So I guess if it was a vote, I would say no, or there's a more appropriate group that maybe were to vote on and approve this, but I don't think the school committee, it's our role to work on recognizing ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to hold off just a
You
minute.
can, yeah, that's fine. That's good. I can always redo.
I think to spare, it's sort of like this awkwardness, I think, for the school committee to say, it's like, okay, I want to put a plaque that recognizes me. Not me, you. But I do think that this is an important thing for the school district. And I know if you go to, if you walk into any building in our towns, including this building, if you walk in the community entrance, there's a big, it would have been far more than what the cost of this plaque is, that recognizes who was on the school committee and who was on the building committee and you know, for the creation of this building. You walk into Chatham Elementary School, you have that same thing. I think for members who are no longer part of the school committee, but for the Ed Jaworskis and the Glenn Bryants and the Stephen Duvals, to have something and to have it mounted here in the library where we're meeting to acknowledge their service to our two towns, I think, is an important thing. And I think that there's similar things that are in both of our towns with regard to acknowledgement of the selectmen over the years, whether it's a plaque or whether it's something that's fancy calligraphy and you just keep adding to it. We just kind of looked at if there was a way to sort of acknowledge and validate the service of school committee members past and do kind of look at acknowledging those those present. So there's a draft of what it could say on the second page of this. The front page is just sort of the if you want to have something that that has 18 or the 48 plates, and that would be something that at the moment I think we have 18 people have been on the Monomoy Regional School Committee over the last several years. So 48 plates hopefully gets us through 25 years or so of the life of this school district. So it's an investment, and then as people come and go, there's smaller engraving costs as a new person comes on, or somebody leaves, where you go take off the thing and put the date that their service ended.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Crafty? Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
right back where I started, I appreciate that I appreciate your effort to make us feel like it's not a selfless or selfish thing to do. I guess I'm really just not prepared to talk about it, other than I need to think about it more. The prices seem a little high. I feel a little guilty about using money out of the budget to pay for something like this. So you're gonna have to come back to me.
Mr. Crafty, third time.
I don't think it's a good idea at all, especially with the negotiations going on right now. I think it would be silly for us to vote ourselves a plaque to put on the wall. It's awful optics. If we wanted to fundraise like we want everyone else to, we could maybe fundraise
I know
ourselves
just the person.
for a plaque or maybe a statue.
Thank you.
You want a statue?
A fundraise, though.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a big no.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sheehan?
I feel exactly the same way. I have to, it's a funny feeling to talk about it. I understand, my father worked for Balfour's, he sold plaques, so that kind of sticks in my head, but he's not selling them anymore. But I'm not comfortable with it.
Thank you. Mr. Osceola?
I'd like to do this in celebration of 10 years, 2021, I think would be a good time to do it. I'm also thinking that although the money is really negligible in terms of the situation we are in negotiations, it could potentially rankle, and I don't see the benefit. I think the benefit is not as substantial. I think a plaque is appropriate at some point. I think it's certainly important that the people who made the regionalization happen have names there when you come in and you see the building and so forth. But I would celebrate this in 10 years, from 2011 to 2021. So if I'm still here, I'd vote for it then.
Thank you. Ms. Duff?
I think that when I go into churches, when I go into the local golf course, and I see the recognition of the presidents or the different things and names, I think it personalizes, and I think it does something positive for community members. Like, I know this person, I know that person. I do not see this one iota in something that we're doing to pat ourselves on the back for. But I'm very interested in town history and community and all that, so I think it's very appropriate. I would not wait for 10 years, but I totally agree with Stephen, Joe, and Joanne about that any money spent at all until negotiations get settled, I think is probably not a good idea. And so even though this is minuscule, I think that at some point after negotiations are done, I would think this would be great.
And Ms. Scott?
I have to concur with the majority and say that I just don't think it's a good idea. I think, calligraphy, then we get a poster board and somebody can write calligraphy on the wall. I don't think there's a need to have a fancy plaque to recognize the work we've done. I feel like for historical purposes, all of our meetings are recorded. Minutes are documented, our elections have been documented, so it's not very difficult to find out who we are, where we were elected, and when we served. I completely agree in terms of not being a budgeted item, not necessarily just because of negotiations. I think that's a part of it. And I also feel that for us to justify to our taxpayers that we are spending even $50 on something to recognize ourselves. I think it's a foolish waste of money when we could be buying a textbook with the $50 or a class set of reading books. We had $25, whatever the amount is. I just think that our job is to educate the kids with money. I don't think our job is to have any recognition of ourselves. If we want recognition, then we go out and wear a pin that says I'm on the school committee. But I know that I, for one, am not in this for any sort of recognition. I just want good schools for my kids and the other kids and their friends. And I think the money is much better spent on them than on a plaque.
Thank you. I tend to agree with most of you in that I'm not here to have my name on a plaque, and while it is nice, it's nice to recognize, I just can't justify this at this time, and maybe revisit it some other time, but not now. So, I guess I have do I need a motion for this?
I don't think it's an action item.
No.
I think you could say consensus-wise.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. Job descriptions for new and updated positions.
So in your packet is something that we've talked about in executive session, but there is a job description for a community engagement coordinator that we have discussed. That's a new position that is funded in the FY19 budget that pulls together the community engagement coordinator funding that we had talked about, and it has a shifting funding that we had been using for a website consultant over to that to help fund that full-time position. There's a position for the there's a job description for the athletic department that has the athletic director's job description, an athletic department administrative assistant, which is a new budget role, and then there is a job description for the athletic trainer. We've sort of updated those. The FY19 budget has a new part-time role of the athletic director's clerical assistant, administrative assistant. So with that position coming in place, we felt it important to sort of look at all of the roles that would be under athletics, so the trainer, that administrative assistant, and the athletic director, to just clarify who's doing what with those within athletics. And then there is a slight update to a job description for what we're referring to as our data compliance and assessment specialist. This is the role that Holly Thing has been doing for the district, which had in the past really been sort of titled more of an administrative assistant job title, and this really sort of acknowledges that she isn't anybody's administrative assistant. She's a specialist who really helps the district with any sort of data-based things that we have. All the student records are in a database. Those student records, the teacher evaluations are in databases that have to seamlessly talk back and forth to the state, and that's Holly's specialty. She's a specialist, not somebody's administrative assistant. We wanted to validate that. So these are the job descriptions we've talked about. The last one is the job description for the administrative assistant to the superintendent, and what we have done is cleaved from that the school committee's secretary, so that that's a separate job in and of itself that that you all would be hiring a school committee secretary. With Barbara's retirement, I would be posting for and hiring an administrative assistant to the superintendent.
Okay, could I entertain a motion to approve these job descriptions? Yes, Ms. Stout?
My motion is, although I'm very supportive of all of these, that I would like to table anything that requires $1 more. So if we're moving something from 10% to 20% to after the negotiations, I personally would feel irresponsible if I voted any increase in anything at this time. Not that I'm not supportive, I'm very supportive of all of this. But I just think the timing is not right.
Are you going to take notes at the next school committee meeting?
I would be happy to if I need to.
Are we just approving the job descriptions? Because it says on the back of them all that the salary and benefits are to be established by the school committee, so we're just approving the description itself, is what my understanding is.
Right, but if the job description entails something that requires more money, sometimes it could be a greater amount of time or a greater responsibility, like something turning into administration, or I forget what it was that you said Holly Thing was going to be doing, a specialist. Those, I have no objection to any of this, but the timing, personally for me, I don't want to spend money that's already maybe in play.
Aren't they already in the budget?
It doesn't matter. We are in negotiations. That's in play.
So are you saying you don't want them to work overtime? Oh, sorry.
I
know this isn't the back and forth, so.
Okay.
Mr. Crafty?
Are you saying you don't want them to be able to work overtime or get like mileage on top of their job?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just talking about increases in jobs.
In jobs?
Yeah.
Ms. Scott?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the job descriptions for Community Engagement Coordinator, Director of Athletics for Middle School and High School Programs, Athletic Director, Department Administrative Assistant, Athletic Trainer job description and responsibilities, Data Compliance Assessment Specialist, Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent.
Point of order, though. My motion's on the table.
There really was no motion.
I made a motion. I didn't get a second, and it wasn't asked if there was a second. I'm talking about a hiring freeze until, not replacing jobs that are already there. And this might be a very short-lived thing. But I want us to be looking and being responsible with our money. Okay. And right now, I don't feel like, personally, I'm just speaking for myself, so that's why I'm making the motion.
Ms. Long?
So, Ms. Stout has a motion on the floor.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if
she could.
I will remove my motion.
Right, and if she could
Is there a
restate
second?
her motion. Was that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second to Ms. Stout's motion? Okay.
There's no second.
What?
There's no second.
There's no second.
I would just like the minutes to reflect this.
Could I have your motion again, please?
To have a hiring freeze for any increases in positions until the contracts are settled.
To have a hiring freeze and positions?
On any increase, in any new positions or increase in,
Could you write it off for me?
I would be glad to. Thank you.
Ms. Stout? I mean, I'm sorry.
It's okay, you see Nancy, it's easier.
Can I?
I'm going home. I'm sorry.
Would you pay attention? Can I just clarify that the job descriptions that we're looking at are already pre-existing jobs?
So I was trying to make a motion and a second so that we could have that discussion.
Great.
So,
Okay.
so I'll make the motion, please, to approve the job description for Community Engagement Coordinator, Director of Athletics for Middle School and High School Programs, Athletic Director, Department Administrative Assistant, athletic trainer, job description and responsibilities, data compliance and assessment specialist, administrative assistant to the superintendent.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded,
And
in discussion.
So my question was, I believe all but one of those positions currently exist, and there were just updates to the job descriptions for?
All but two. So
All but two,
the
okay.
two that were in all of our budget presentations were
Right.
the community engagement coordinator
Mhm.
and the part-time clerical support for the athletics director,
Which we all discussed and approved.
ad nauseum.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Scott?
So I'm going to just further clarify that the administrative assistant to the superintendent, the data compliance and assessment specialist, and the athletic trainer job description, or job, are all current employment that have their current salaries set. The only new ones for this year, and the director of athletics, obviously. So the new ones this year is the athletic department assistant and the community engagement coordinator, both of which were very clearly and transparently stated in our budget as new additions, and they're not actually additions, they're shifting of positions. So this is not adding to our budget at all. It's all been in the budget presentations over the year. Just want to make sure that's very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have, okay, Mr.
So although we plan for these things, and we all do support these things, the expenditures have not been voted on for them before.
Well, the expenditures would have been voted on when this committee voted the budget.
So in essence, as a committee, we approved those positions as a placeholder for a future hire, and this is just solidifying the job description for that hire.
Well, I guess the way I feel about it is that we've known for 3 years that this negotiations was coming up. And I haven't been on the finance committee, but I'm really angry that this was supposed to be settled in February. That was one of the, I don't know if it was our school committee goal or I think it was the superintendent's goal. But at any rate, it's not done. And now we've got all these people all upset. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it involves money. I don't know anything about it. But I just know if we want to keep this good culture, we need to do something here.
Okay, we have, Mr. Mastellio?
One of the things we talked about in the superintendent's evaluation was the community involvement and engagement. I didn't speak on that for a variety of good reasons, but I was wondering if perhaps the desire for more parents and community, or the lack of numbers at the opportunities, events that the superintendent and other administrators provide, I wonder if that reflects perhaps a certain contentment or agreement with what we're doing. And then further, if there is such an agreement to take a position or to create a position of community engagement coordinator, which includes public relations, volunteers, marshaling the resources in this town, resources which we do have, I think, to a great degree, and bring them to bear on improving the educational experience for students. I think any cost for these positions is more than justified, would not negatively impact our stance vis-a-vis negotiations. And I'm saying this as someone who's been a teacher than I have for a lot longer than I've been a member of the school committee, although I am very much trying to see things from this side of the table. So I think it's important for the district to have all of these positions that have been presented to us today.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We have a motion to include these job titles and vote on them as new jobs.
Description.
Positions, thank you.
No descriptions.
Oh.
Sorry.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
At this time.
Okay. Motion carries. 6 to 1. Just when you thought it was safe, we have the subcommittee assignments. All right.
I heard Sharon volunteer for finance.
Yeah, and I want to say, it was tough to do, because either a lot of people signed up for one thing, or nobody signed up for anything, and, or any segment, so we're open for discussion on these, as soon as I can find it. I'd like to first start out, though, before we get into separate categories. On the Finance Committee specifically, I was wondering if someone from Chatham would be willing to take the 4th spot on that. We have Nancy, Terry, and Steve from Harwich, but is there someone from Chatham that might want to serve on the Finance Committee? Going once.
Me.
Going twice.
They're all hiding.
Oh, yes, Ms. Scott.
So to kind of give the new members a nice little conversation of how much fun we have at Finance Subcommittee meetings. We get to meet with Dr. Carpenter and Ms. Isernio, and you get to sit down with me and Terry and Steve, and we talk money. It's so just so you are aware, the Finance Subcommittee, it's usually kind of jam-packed in November-ish through January-ish. So those 3 months is kind of Finance Subcommittee meeting time, and then into February as needed before the public hearing. So it's not a full year commitment, it's kind of a 3 to 4 month concentrated commitment. And Mr. Carpenter can bring donuts if that will help, right?
When does the Finance Committee meet?
Whenever is convenient for the subcommittee. Typically, because I work days, it's in the evenings. So.
Oh, it is in the evenings.
4:35, 6, not that late. So.
It's fun.
It's a lot of fun, right, Steve?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Just saying.
I think it provides Katie and I a sounding board for those initial, sort of budget ideas, and so before we roll things much further forward, we at least get to get reactions from a subgroup of the school committee. So it's an important piece for us, and I think Nancy's right. There's that window as the budget's in its initial formation stage where there's a lot more activity. But I think in terms of the subcommittees, I think this and probably the policy subcommittee are probably the two that are most time intensive.
But it's not like a weekly meeting, so
It's not.
I'll do it.
See, it was funny because I watched Mr. Osceola just kind of keep looking, making funny faces. Miss Sheehan didn't even look over here at all.
She's hiding. I'm hitting my head. Joe's hiding behind paper.
No, he just kept making looks like.
However, I will be negotiating later on in this discussion.
All right, so Ms. Long, you are volunteer for that 4th spot?
It doesn't feel like I'm volunteering, but yes.
It's all about willingness.
Okay, then the other note I wanted to make is on the form that we received in our last packet, there was a communications section. That was in there by mistake. That doesn't exist. So
That was my top job.
I know.
was really hoping for
So
that
I
one.
took care of you.
Looks like you got redeployed.
So, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You have to count time on.
I'm on 4. 4.
You want to go for 5?
Just ha you. No, it's fine.
This was a representative.
You're gonna switch with me, or you wanna take it? I'm taking it. Oh, stop. We have a taker.
Pardon me?
We've got a taker.
I'll do her sick bank.
Oh.
That's a good one to volunteer for.
And that communications one.
I'm pretty sure I've done the sick bike the entire time I've been on the school committee, and I have not ever seen it sick.
Well, then it's a perfect one for Steve.
And also, the wellness that's in the subcommittee is not a subcommittee. It belongs in the representative, as a representative. So that's not a subcommittee, it's a rep.
So that doesn't actually exist?
Yeah, it exists as a representative to the Wellness Committee.
Oh,
We've had some sliding.
yeah, and
That's my fault, I
negotiations
apologize.
slides into the subcommittees. Who's
The
on?
names are all correct, it's just where
Yeah.
they fall
It's just-
categorically.
Okay, got it.
I have a request.
Yes.
I have not ever been on the Finance Committee, but I'm interested in it. So I would request, I'm interested in attending some. I would request that someone on the Finance Committee let the rest of us know. I know that we're not allowed when we go to a subcommittee to speak if there's a quorum. We can't participate in it, but it would be informative. I just never know when they're happening because they may be posted, but I have no idea when to look. So if something could be sent around, I would be glad to, if anyone's interested in policy, to send out information to you if you would like to go. But could somebody on the Finance Committee send out an email to me or anyone else that might be interested in ever attending?
Are these are all posted on the website, correct? Under the school committee?
Yes.
And then the finance, if I'm to understand it correctly, sometimes you guys don't find out till like 2 days. Is that the one that's like 2 days before? Because it has to be the 48-hour notice. So those are posted at least 2 days before. So that's where we can find the meetings.
Right.
Okay.
But that's so impractical because you'd have to be checking like every day what's being posted on that, just an email out to anyone else. I'm expressing an
maybe.
interest.
Ms. Scott?
Maybe just all subcommittee agendas just mailed out to the full committee. So anytime a subcommittee meeting is posted, is that practical, or is that?
She doesn't care. She's not gonna be here.
Thank you.
She's like, yep, that's fine.
Can we add that to job description now before it comes up for school committee secretary?
I don't believe anything she's doing tonight.
She's good for anything. Anything.
I have another suggestion, Sharon, that might work. We kind of started doing it last year for our subcommittees, but, and I think we had a workshop on it about kind of delegation for subcommittees and kind of coming up with what our goals are and so on and so forth, but taking it in a little bit of a different direction. If we kind of, within our subcommittees, delegate a point person, the person that is the point person, the communication person, and the person who does the minutes and posts the minutes, upon your first meeting, that person would be in charge of making sure that's emailed for each subcommittee to the members so that they're aware of where the meetings are. It could be within that role. But that would mean that each person in each subcommittee would have to have a liaison that is delegated for that year.
Well, personally, I was just trying to make this very simple, and instead of loading everything on one person on the subcommittee, I would volunteer for the policy subcommittee to let people know when that meeting is, should any, and I was hoping that I could find somebody on finance to just put an email out to the rest of us saying, I don't even care what the agenda is, but, I mean, it would be nice, but just when it is, to get some more idea. I attended one meeting once, but that was it in all these years.
I don't know, I personally don't want any more emails. I look online, I find the date, that's what it is.
You can ignore it.
No, well, yeah.
I get 100 a year today.
No more emails. What any more emails?
I don't know if this is, would Katie be able to do that, or whenever the?
What?
Yes.
Sharon, I'll email you when the finance committees are.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. Good.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Okay, any other discussion on this, these, whatever?
Yes.
Do we vote on
Does that mean I'm still on 4 committees?
it? Pardon me?
I'm still on 4? Oh, no, I'm on 3 now.
Just if there's no objection.
If there's no objections, then this is sealed in stone.
You may deliver.
I don't know.
Thank you for your work on that, Madam Chair.
Yes, and I like that idea a lot, to have a go-to person or whatever. Okay. All right, subcommittee reports. The policies for the DEC grant management and teaching about, is there someone that's going to talk about that? Is it Jackie?
What? Oh, policy. Yes. Sorry, I'm still sorting out my calendar with all my new clubs I get to go to.
How do you like it so far?
Okay. We're starting with DEC. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to put them in order. You would have thought Barbara would have put them in order. She didn't.
Oh, my evaluation.
Next requires my notes. Hold on one sec. Sorry. Unless anyone else from the policy subcommittee would like to start, I'm just gonna get myself organized here.
Take your time.
DEC, the grant management policy, this one was funds and grant management requirements. Just looking for the red line one of that.
Ms. Long,
Yes, ma'am.
the grant management policy.
Was that the new one?
policy.
That's right. That's why I didn't have it.
So it's not needed to be redlined because the entire policy is new.
Thank you. I knew one of them was.
Original, it's making its
I've been going
debut.
through quite a few, so thank you for the reminder. I don't really have much to comment on. It's a new policy. I just see a typo at the top. Grant, abbreviation S, thank you. It basically, did anyone have any questions on this one? Sharon, did you have anything to add? Or Steve?
Not really. We all approved it.
So,
That's great.
Thank you. We're gonna do it all in one motion?
This is the first reading, so you'll vote on it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
So it's just
so you
first
have a
reading.
couple
Okay,
more
there's no other
times.
questions. We're gonna move on to the next one.
thank you.
IHAMB, teaching about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. The corrections that were made, I'm just taking a look at. We're on recommendations for wording and to strike go ahead, Donna.
If this is the first reading of these, is it appropriate for us to take them, read them, come back, and discuss them?
We can discuss them again before we vote on them, but the concept is that you've had them to read and review and come to the policy subcommittee with any questions about any of the corrections or updates that we've made.
Okay. So, which one are we doing?
This is IHAM, this is IHAMB, it was revised from IHAMA to IHAMB, adding Monomoy Regional School District, teaching about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco.
Got it, thank you.
If there's no questions on that one, I'll move forward. Unless Sharon or Steve have anything to add.
Move forward.
Move forward?
Move on.
Okay. GBGF, Monomoy Regional School District Family Medical Leave Act. We struck the first paragraph. We took out wages, a lot of verbiage of wages, vacation, and other items that are negotiable, which shouldn't be in the policy.
Is this just, I'm sorry,
Ms. Scott?
is this one just a legal update?
This one's basically just a legal update, and again, taking out that negotiation pieces in there because we obviously can't have a policy on that. Good. And what are we up to? JICH, alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, and drug use by students. We did have in-depth conversation about this one as far as the process for where the administration takes a role and where the local police department would take a role, but I think it's pretty clear. We updated the Massachusetts general law legal reference on the bottom.
I don't have.
And updated student discipline, as well as in a prior policy, we were updating the substances that are included in the policies.
Okay.
The other comment was on the student discipline. We considered whether it would have been appropriate to have the athletes have some specific discipline on here, but it wasn't really a role of our student policy handbook. It was more a role that the MIAA rules govern that, and so that's why that's more singled out.
Yes.
Sharon, most compliant student service, but I did bring it for you tonight, just to answer those questions. There's a copy from the middle school and the high school handbook where it outlines discipline, because I think that was the question, so I did have that for you.
And they're all posted on the website as well, right?
They are.
Yeah.
There was a question about that. It was more specific because students who choose to participate in sports must follow the MIAA guidelines, and they're not the same necessarily for students who are in other clubs or activities, so there's a distinction for that. But the discipline itself, I just wanted to make sure people had that as well, so, because that's the question that came up from Ms. Stout, asked for that information.
Okay.
And those can be found in the individual school policy manuals. Perfect. Which is why she's passing them out.
Ms. Scott?
So I just want to make sure that we mention that it is a first reading. They are posted on the website, and that's why we're not actually reading through all of the policies. We because that would take way too long. So they are posted, and this is the first reading, and at the next meeting is when we'll look to vote on them.
Good.
To approve them. Good. Check.
I think that's it. Those
Okay.
aren't on our agenda, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all.
The fourth bullet and the fifth bullet are the same.
Are the same, they're
Yeah.
just listed differently for some reason.
Okay. Thank you. Superintendent's report?
This will take about 3 hours. No, just a reminder, we had talked about July 17th, 5 o'clock. We'll have a workshop with the administrative team, talking strategic planning as we look forward. We are continuing to have conversations with Head Start on the possibility of using at least one of the classroom spaces that's empty currently at Chatham Elementary School to provide a service to our communities that could hopefully provide some free or very affordable preschool experiences to families. We've been talking with them about the possibility of doing a full year, a full day, full year option for families, which is not something that that's part of our current preschool options. Our preschool options that we have in the district are half-day options that just fall on the school year, which for working families can be challenging. So I anticipate we'll invite Ann Caldwell, who's the executive director of the Cape Cod Child Development Group, to maybe see if she could come and talk with the school committee at our next meeting. I just want to acknowledge and congratulate our All Sports Boosters Club has finally made it all the way through the rather arduous 501c3 process. So they are fully flying as a IRS acknowledged parent support group. We had a spring sports night here. Was it last night? They're all blurring together these days. Yeah, that's, you know, when you look at parents turning out in mass, you know, the auditorium was filled with our spring sport athletes and their families, and the All Sports Boosters provided a water bottle to each student athlete, in addition to they had provided 6 scholarships this year at our convocation. So congratulations to the All Sports Boosters. Also in your packet, this would have been a school committee agenda item with an action, but it's late breaking news. So there's I passed out to you all something that I refer to as a designation of a exclusive use line behind the Harwich Elementary School. Back in my first few months on the job in August 2013, we were starting to have questions as to what the land behind Harwich Elementary School and at the time Chatham Middle School or Harwich Middle School, what of that land do we as a school district give to the town, or sort of what's going to be town land, what's going to be school land when it comes to us giving back the middle school to the town. At the time, on the first page here, there was it's one of those famous pictures that I projected one night where I took Google Earth image of the two properties and drew a line. This is like the North Korean was that the 54th parallel? Yes, so I drew a line that was roughly 5 feet off of the back of the portable trailers that were attached to the building and said, okay, if we extended that line going east-west, that would leave field space so that you could have a soccer game for your gym class, or you could have a field day out behind the school, and felt it important that we preserve that space for school use, but we also had at the time Little League, the Harwich-Chatham Little League, use those spaces for kids to learn how to play baseball, softball. So subsequently, we had a proposal by the Harwich-Chatham Little League to take over the maintenance of those fields, and I've attached to that the agreement that we have with them and the school committee vote from back in December 17th, 2014 to give over the care of that field to the Little League, and they've been doing, I would say, as good of a job as they can given the quality of the soil that they're blessed with. It's what I refer to as a Cape Cod lawn back there without irrigation. So it's basically sand and very sand-tolerant weeds that comprise the field, and it's. And this is the time of year where Harwich Elementary School is having their field day out on that field. And then you go to Chatham Elementary School, which is having their field on the outfield where the anglers play. And it's quite the contrast in the grass surfaces that the children have. I've included in this little packet for you an email from the Harwich Town manager where the selectmen have asked him and to establish a exclusive use line, so to sort of codify once and for all what is going to be town land and what's going to be school land. The second picture has a little vertical red line, and I know that our color printing is a bit off, so some of you who just have black and white probably can't even see the line. But it basically goes pretty much on, following the edge of the dark green or black, depending on if you have a color, rectangle there going north. So it's basically saying that the exclusive use line would have the whole field would be on the town side of the exclusive use, which does create a situation that there's not a stretch of grass that you could have a soccer game on for a gym class anywhere near Harwich Elementary School. So if the school district were to say, okay, that's going to now be town land, and the town decides to put extra parking for the community cultural center, we don't have that, that is a grass space. So, so I think that this is something that the school committee needs to mull, and I think that we need to reach out to to the executive board of the Harwich Chatham Little League for their input too on this. But I emailed back at least my 2 cents to the town manager, which is that at the end of the day, I think we need to make sure that there is a preserved grass space behind Harwich Elementary School and behind what is now the Harwich Cultural Center for community use. I've also suggested in that I think it's a perfectly valid use of community preservation funds to go actually take that field area and augment it so that it can grow grass and it can actually be a better facility for for the town to have kids play ball on and use. Also, there are 2 basketball courts that are in dire need of repair. I found it interesting in the town manager's line that the basketball courts were left on the school side as opposed to being on the town side and have the town take care of them potentially. So those spaces, I think, the basketball courts, the fields are good things for community preservation. We see the facility behind Chatham, the middle school. The town of Chatham takes exquisite care of those fields and the basketball surfaces by the tennis courts. And there's a lot of people that use that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for people in the town of Harwich to go and have some good recreational use behind these 2 buildings.
Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, Ms. Dunn.
So there's a lot of history about this. I can't remember whether it was when I was on the Harwich School Committee or on the Monomoy School Committee, but I think it was somewhere, maybe the year that both existed. And there have been a number of committees. I was on one about the use of that space that's now being used for the Culture Center. This whole thing was already decided, and I know that you were involved with some of that, Scott, where there was actually where Scott has this black line here. That was the decision at that time from the talk with the school committee, with the town's group that was talking about the use of that space. They were originally thinking about selling that space to housing. There was a lot of town support about protecting Harwich Elementary School, and that all that space originally was school space. I have asked, and there hasn't been any one involved with the Culture Center that has said that they needed that space. There hasn't been any problem at all with the Little League using that space. But this line here that the town planner put in, this red line here, is that right, that the town planner? Because it says there.
There's more of a, we'll call it a surveyor's map.
Okay.
Mine was sort of lowbrow Google Earth, Photoshop line. This is sort of a more definitive one, but again, it has the fields themselves are to the east of that line, so it's separating the fields from the school district property.
Right, but all that property entirely straight across was for school use. I think that, we don't have any idea how education may change, what our needs will be. We're talking on wellness about increasing physical activity. We don't have any idea that the Culture Center in the future might become housing. I mean, right now things are going very well, but it was a very, very hard-fought battle. These things come back and forth. I think that as a school committee, we are the advocates for the school, and that we need to try to keep all of that land that's in there for school use. Not to say that we can't let the town use it, but if the town owns that, that can be sold for any use. Any use, and some of the uses that have been brought up could be very detrimental to be right next to the elementary school. So this is a moot point, to keep it all owned by Chatham, by Monomoy schools is not going to hurt anyone. To do something different may seriously compromise the future of some things for the Harwich Elementary School.
think what you said could be said at a selectmen's meeting, too. They're the ones that are
Right,
driving this.
yes. I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Is that a question?
Sorry.
Scott, isn't the septic system for both the cultural center and the elementary school underneath those fields?
It's fertilizing the grass,
First, has to make them look so nice.
No grass.
or the weeds.
Yeah.
The dirt. Sand.
You're confusing me in my case. I go to the playground every day and you're confusing me.
That's a good point.
So,
Both septic systems are
Yeah.
under the piece of property that they're trying
Shared.
to.
Yeah, it's a shared septic for the two buildings. So,
And it's a shared septic.
yeah.
Wow. That's messy.
Learned something today, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's gonna, yeah. Go get them, Sharon.
So this isn't something we need to vote on now, but I'll do a sort of formal presentation at our next meeting. I think there needs to be a position made by this committee, and clearly, at least from what I've shared and what Ms. Stout has shared, I think there's some differences between how I feel and or at least some clarification that's needed on the selectmen's side, because the line of demarcation has changed.
okay. Anything else?
That would be it.
Okay. Before just going on, there's one thing that was just pointed out in the packets that we've already been through, the one page on advertising signs on athletic field fences and advertising in schools. If you could read those over and come ready to vote on those for the next meeting, those two things. Yeah, two calls.
Are they posted on the website now?
They will be, yeah.
They'll be posted on the website.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. Now we're down to action items, and last meeting, we had a presentation for the Monomoy Regional High School School Improvement Plan, and I'd like a motion to vote on that tonight.
I move to approve the high school 2018-19 school improvement plan as presented at our last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the job descriptions, yeah, okay. And the contract for auditing, no, not surplus equipment. Oh, Jackie, would you like to read that? I'd like to keep your record intact.
I'm busy.
I move to declare surplus, only because I want to go home. I move to declare surplus from Monomoy Regional Middle School, a track high jump mat, 3 of those, a track high jump standard, 1 set of 2, 12 sailboats, and 10 masts. And from the high school 4D or 46, I'm not entirely sure which number that is, so somewhere between those 2 books, World History, People and Nations textbooks.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we are going to adjourn to executive session and pursuant to MGL 30A, Section 21, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and negotiations with no purpose of coming back to.
No public session.
I had a note for that,
So
it
moved.
got lost.
Need a second.
So,
moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Osceola, you need to say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, you get to say aye.
aye.
And so now you can say